A gracious good day to one and all once again. 'Tis I, Norton the First, by grace of God, Emperor of the United States and Protector of Mexico. Back with you once again for episode number 93 of Emperor Norton's fantastic history vlog. Today is July 11, 2020. It is our 116th day under COVID-19 restrictions. And as we do every Saturday, we welcome back our extra special guest star, the Countess, Lola Montez. Good day, Countess.
Good day, Your Majesty, and it's so good to be back with all of you.
Indeed.
I hope it finds you well and healthy. And it's a lovely day here in San Francisco. And, you know, I was thinking, Your Majesty, how so many of us, when we are in our youth, have our dreams and have our hopes. And sometimes we try to follow those dreams, do we not?
Yes,
and
oh my, that
many,
was so long ago, I don't even remember.
Well, true. Well, what I was about to say
I'm so sorry.
was back in the day, so many people came to San Francisco because this was the frontier to start over.
Mm-hmm.
And many of those people were very successful, such as moi. I was very successful here with the spider dance and around the world. But we made our fortunes, and fortunes were lost. Hearts were broken, and they ended up on the road of broken dreams indeed. And today I want to share with you some of those stories of those early days and some of the most notable people besides the Emperor himself and myself. We will talk about through history some of the other folks that were here and made quite a change on the city and impact entertainment as well. So, anyway, have you ever been deeply in love, Your Majesty?
Well, yes, there was one woman I thought about. Still
Just
do.
one?
Yes, yes.
Well, my. Well, you know, what did the dead man divorce his wife for?
I don't know.
Because she was frigid.
Okay.
You know, weddings, you've never been married, have you, Your
No,
Majesty?
never married.
Until most recently.
Yes, yes.
In this lifetime. But wedding is a 3-ring circus. Engagement ring, wedding ring, and suffering. Then you heard about the wife. She says, the husband's in the other room, and she says, "Do you want dinner?" And the husband says, "Sure. What are my choices?" Yes or no.
I guess that depends.
So if you have to choose between a husband and shoes, I choose shoes because they tend to last longer and are easier to replace. I never knew what compost was until I met my husband. I asked a friend the secret of their 52-year marriage. Can you imagine?
Mm-hmm.
And she replied, "We never go to sleep angry." That's a great philosophy, I says. Yes, and the longest we've been awake so far is 5 days. Well, I want to talk to you a bit. Did you ever hear of Issac Minkin? I stand corrected.
Why no? Please elucidate.
Well, shall I?
Yes.
Well, Issac Minkin was noted as the voluptuous intellectual. And Mark Twain said of her in 1863, "There was nobody in town but the Minkin, or rather, that no one was being talked about except that manly young female." Yes, and Joaquin Miller wrote, "Who of those days does not remember that graceful yellow figure in the streets of San Francisco in a single garment of yellow silk. I doubt if any other woman in the world could wear a dress like that in the winds of San Francisco and not look ridiculous. Now, in the 1850s, I mesmerized San Francisco with my sensuous spider dance.
Indeed.
And that was 10 years prior to Issac Minkin coming to San Francisco. Of course, I had moved on to New York by then.
Mm-hmm.
But what happened is in 1863, because I arrived in 1853, in 63, San Francisco, the actress, writer, conquered the city with a horse and a pin. She was astride a cantering horse on stage, and Minkin starred as a Tartar prince in a very popular drama of Mazeppa. Ada wrote romantic verse praised by Walt Whitman and Dante Gabriel Rossetti. She was on stage in mock nude tights and the horse. And up until that time, only men had played that character of the prince. Well, her biggest admirers were the thriving California bohemian literary circles, such as Charles Warren Stoddard, Mark Twain, Bret Harte, Joaquin Miller I mentioned, and the masses loved her. Stoddard was smitten, and he wrote, "She was a vision of celestial harmony, made manifest in the flesh, a loving and breathing poem that set the heart to music."
Oh,
Aren't those lovely words?
those are.
We had a lot in common in San Francisco's success, our beauty. She was a bold pro-feminist. She conducted her life and love affairs without concession. We both had that in common. We were outspoken women. However, she was born in New Orleans, and she endured prostitution in her youth. And then she converted to Judaism to marry a prominent businessman, she wrote. She wrote all kinds of poetry. She was an artist and sculpted. She spoke 5 languages, Your Majesty.
Wow.
And she read classical Greek. Now, in 1863 in San Francisco, men still outnumbered the women 3-1. My. She was booked at the Tom Maguire Opera House for 16 nights, and she made $500 a show. Now, over 30,000 people saw her in those 2 weeks, in those 16 days, and that was over half the population of San Francisco.
Indeed.
And traditionally, as I said, the saga by Lord Byron, based on a Russian folktale, Mazeppa is about a Tartar prince fighting against tremendous odds to gain the love of a Polish daughter. The part of the prince had always been played by a male up until Issac Minkin, and she tested the stage and broke tradition by portraying on stage androgyny.
Oh, dear.
A woman revealing her female sexuality through a male role in San Francisco. That never happens,
Oh,
does
no,
it? Yeah.
never.
Not to these days. Well, my stars. So, anyhow, Minkin felt freer and less inhibited in San Francisco, as so many people have and still do. She dressed like a man and visited the brothels, indeed. You know, she wanted to have a good time, and she loved to gamble and, you know, play games and, you know, put her pint away with the rest of them in the Barbary Coast. So in San Francisco, she was free to have intimate friendships with whomever she cared to. And there was much more constraints back east, on the East Coast, for example, at the time. And here in San Francisco, it was much more open and free, even back in those days.
Always been an open city.
Yes. I mean, there were 70 years without any laws being enforced, you can imagine. And that's good and that's also bad. But it also lent itself to people being upwardly mobile, whereas other parts of the country or other parts of the world, they were slaves to country and king, you know, and religion. Well, Mencken went on to Nevada to perform and earned $50,000 in silver. You know, they had the Comstock loan coming in, so she went and cashed in on that as well.
That's a lot of money.
Well, she never returned to California, and she went on to Europe and was the toast of Paris. Well, while she was there, she married a fourth time and had a child that died in infancy.
Oh dear.
Yes, she never recovered from that. And she published a book of poetry dedicated to her friend Charles Dickens with his permission.
Ah.
And in Paris, she became financially destitute. She quickly became ill and was very, very sad and depressed, and she died at the ripe old age of 33, Your Majesty.
Oh,
Isn't
how
that
sad.
terrible?
How sad.
Yes. My. You know, what we do for love, I mean, there are all kinds of songs and poetry about that sort of thing. And, you know, marriage is a wonderful thing. But, you know, love is blind and marriage is an eye-opener. But you know what? Would you like to go back in time? I used to perform, you know, and sing those torch songs.
Oh, I would love to. Are you going to do one now?
Well, we'll have to go back into the future, back into the future with the time machine. And I'm going to consult with the crystal. And if you're willing to go and watch, we'll just take a watch today. And I have these magic words. To arms, the fairy queen's in danger. Whoops, my dear, there's a ring around the moon. Hocus pocus, let's all focus. Tonight you're mine completely. You give your love so sweetly. Tonight the light of love is in your eyes. But will you love me tomorrow? Is this a lasting treasure? Or just a moment's pleasure? Can I believe the magic of your sighs? Will you still love me tomorrow? Tonight with words unspoken, you say that I'm the only one. But will my heart be broken when the night meets the morning sun. I'd like to know that your love is love that I can be sure of. So tell me now, and I won't ask again. Will you still love me tomorrow? Will you still love me tomorrow? Will you still love me tomorrow? Oh, will you still love me tomorrow, tomorrow?
Oh, we're back.
Indeed we are.
What a splendid nightclub that was.
Well, we all have a past.
Indeed.
Yes.
And that was lovely, Countess, as
Thank
always.
you.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And thank you all for watching. I would also suggest at the bottom of the screen, you may comment. And if you would like to know more about history of San Francisco, or have suggestions for something you would like to know about in San Francisco, or history pertaining to the people here. Because I think in the next few times I'm gonna bring forth some of the other characters and folks that were here. And we had such an interest in history. Anyway, thank you for having me, and thank you for watching.
So leave your comments below, or send an email to sftimemachine@gmail.com. sftimemachine@gmail.com, and we'll try to answer them on a future vlog. And that wraps it up for this edition. Until we see you again, stay safe, stay inside, stay healthy. If you do go outside, wear a damn mask. Be kind to one another. Until we see you again, a gracious good day.